Tag Show. Tag Show. That's gonna leave a mark, Taylor.
That's undisputed because I'm undisputed. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's another episode of the Mixed Tag Show with
Jenna and
Blue. And this time we got our homeboy. Okay, we got our homeboy Reg. This way, nope, that way. Reg.
where
on the
else
show
would
with
it
us to
be?
discuss-
Like,
No, like my face was the way I was pointing. Like I was trying to get the angle. You know, it's backwards. You know that happened last time. Anyway.
right there we go. I got it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like when I was doing it, it's like off to the side. People be doing that in videos like effortlessly. I'm like, yo, how y'all be picking up on it real quick? Like, yeah, somewhere like that.
It's a science. It's a system. It's something.
Exactly.
Right.
We just started doing it. We gotta get a little bit more.
We gotta work on it.
In.
Get more chemistry with it. Shout out.
Exactly.
We got Righteous Reg with us. Writer, rapper, wrestling enthusiast.
Mm-hmm.
That's the word. Yeah.
Enthusiast, yes. Pretty popular figure these past few weeks.
Definitely.
Yeah,
We'll get into that.
It's been busy, very busy.
We'll definitely get into that.
A polarizing figure, to say the least.
Right.
Some would say.
A wave maker. A wave maker.
Exactly.
Before we get into that, how long you been watching wrestling, and what got you into it?
I've been watching wrestling for probably like 30 years now. My entire life has been pro wrestling. I think like the earliest memory I have, which is very unfortunate, I don't like telling people. The earliest memory I have is like watching that dude that wears red and yellow, and he wears red and yellow. He does things. I watched him and I was just like blown away, like, oh, whoa, this is crazy. What is going on here? And then it just kind of spawned from there. But like Bret the Hitman Hart is like really like what cemented my love for pro wrestling. And from there it was all the way up. We're not going to mention that other guy though. Don't say that.
No.
Okay,
no.
I won't mention him by name, but I find it interesting just because I know you said you just said you're ashamed to mention that's where your love of wrestling started, but it's just like I get, obviously it's fuck him all day, but it's just should we really be ashamed if that's where like our origins were, just because like that's what most people, especially growing up in that era, in that era, that's that was the guy. So it's just kind of like, are we really ashamed in regards to like what we had no idea. Well, I was born in 1990, so that was a little bit before my time, but nonetheless.
Yeah,
right?
well, for me, I think it's a deeper issue. I think in wrestling with how WWF at the time or WWE has presented these people. I am ashamed because like there were so many better wrestlers out in the world, and this guy was just kind of shoved down our throat, and we had to because he was the guy,
right.
Just like they do with Roman. Just like they did with John Cena, just like they did with Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's like we're forced to love these guys, even if they do have some greatness to us. WWE's like, you're gonna love this guy, or you're not gonna, or else. And I don't like that now. I guess like these days, it's a lot easier for us to watch so many different wrestling companies. But back then, it was just WWE, just WCW. So we were forced, and I don't like it. I am ashamed, and I hate him, and I'm forever gonna hate him.
I heard that.
Terry.
I heard that. Terry.
So
I heard that. I respect it.
So you mentioned Bret Hart, and shout out to AEW for what they're gonna start doing with the Owen Hart Foundation and everything like that. So I gotta ask, because I always had these conversations when I find like Bret Hart fans. Who was better, Bret Hart or Owen? Keep it 100.
Bret Hart. Bret Hart was a better wrestler, but Owen Hart was incredible at what he did. Yeah. Bret the Hitman Hart, man. The second greatest WWE match of all time is Bret Hart.
I'm
said
not
who?
the
Owen
biggest
Hart
Bret
doesn't
Hart
have a
fan.
match, and okay. I was gonna say Owen Hart doesn't have a match in the top 10 ever, but he does, and guess against who? Bret Hart. Yeah,
Okay,
I
we
give you
but
got it. We got it.
but here,
that.
yeah, but here's my, and I always have this like this conversation in the sense of Bret Hart was like you said with that other guy and other superstars are we're forced
Right.
to like that said person. Bret Hart was put in that position for us to gravitate to him. Owen Hart didn't really necessarily get that, that
Opportunity.
opportunity like his brother. You know what I mean? And he was always having to
I
find
agree.
a gimmick. And every time he got a gimmick, he made it work. It just, the machine never actually like pushed him. So we can't really
Because
say
honestly,
it's
I agree.
because, Bret Hart is better in that sense.
because I think you're the one that posted the video of Owen Hart, or if it wasn't you, somebody posted a video of Owen Hart on Twitter, like his time in New Japan, and just like how he was way ahead of the game in terms of in-ring ability, and showing the different styles of wrestling. So that's how I was looking at it. Like, yeah, the technical wrestling, Bret Hart had it, but in terms of like seeing the vision and storytelling as well, and thinking ahead, Owen Hart had that vision on top of Bret. Like Bret didn't think that far ahead.
And here, for
I don't
me,
agree. I
outside of
think
the
Bret Hart
wrestling,
had all that.
You think
outside of the
so?
wrestling thing, can I finish my point, Blue? Can I finish my point?
He was answering my question, but go ahead.
I'm sorry. Just to I guess to tie this up in a bulk and move on. Me personally, also, I felt like with Bret Hart, I just couldn't get with his character. I felt like even whether it was a face or heel, he was just whining and always just always wanted like to be
I deserve
acknowledged,
more.
and it's
I
just like
deserve
I
better.
deserve more. And it's like, dude, and even when he went to WCW, and even like outside of wrestling, like just Bret Hart, it's just like he's not happy with his, like, I guess his accolades or the acknowledgement. I don't know, and I don't know. Maybe it's the cancer in him because
I
we have
agree,
the
but
same birthday. I don't know, like.
I agree, but Owen Hart was exactly the same. Every single character that he did was that.
But
He
Owen
was
Hart, but
at first he came in complaining that he wasn't as good as Brett and he didn't get the opportunities as Brett. Then he was down with Yokozuna, complaining about not getting opportunities. Down with the Nation of Domination,
the
complaining about not getting
domination.
opportunities. His whole career, and then when Bret Hart left, came back saying he wasn't getting the fair share. It's pretty much was the same exact thing, just a different guy. His
Yes, but
brother.
at least yeah, but at least it made sense with his brother because it was actually true. Where Bret Hart was always given whatever title reign or big
I
feud
agree.
and matches. So, but
I agree.
nonetheless, I
It
can
all comes
respect that
down
Bret
to
Hart is on
like
the back.
Right.
it's like a Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels thing. You either like you like one or the other a lot more. So I
Right.
agree.
But at least you have good arguments on both
Everything true
sides.
about Bret Hart, or everything good about Bret Hart they say is true, and everything bad they say about Bret Hart is also true. So
Got it.
that's kind of where I
Yeah, and
land.
that's the best. And that's what you. And
Sure.
that's why I feel like this when you got good comparisons. When you have like the comparison between Bret Hart and HBK and Owen Hart. Think about that. Like all those people had great arguments for. Like to me, Shawn Michaels the greatest of all
Right.
time. Mike, ring, everything put together. It's so hard to find that nowadays. Like nowadays, when you look at the product,
Right.
you can't have that argument for everybody. You know what I mean? Like you have to look outside of the company now to try to get that conversation going because the company becomes so
Right.
one person dominated. So I feel
And I
like back in
think
the day,
that's
that's why it was so good because that's a good like everybody was dope back then because it was like we always say like people was good from the first card, the mid card to the main event. They always in that ring performing.
And I think that's a good segue in regards to your list that you created in regards to looking for talent elsewhere, right? We obviously in WWE we can't find as Blue was mentioning like the full package. Um,
Right.
so getting into the list because me and him would have these conversations, and I've had these conversations with other people. I'll tell you right now, like I'll be 100% honest. Like as much as I'm a huge wrestling fan, I can't tell you I'm like I'm an encyclopedia where I know every indie wrestler or from whatever promotion, right? So where did this come about in regards to this list, like researching different wrestlers and just like how
The
did the list basically
BW500.
come about? Yes, the BW500. How did this come about?
I guess with like the part of the indies thing is like I did a little, very bit of pro wrestling like a long time ago. I was a backyard wrestler and then I did some pro wrestling. So I like was in locker rooms. I'd like learned, I know the ropes of pro wrestling. So I just always have been into independent wrestling. Then I just was obsessed with independent. Probably around like 2002, 2003 is when I discovered a life outside of WWE. And so there were so many guys that were there that were blowing me away is that I was hooked on that and I wanted to be a part of that scene kind of more than the WWE because WWE is WWE. They don't really gear towards like what I was at the time, a teenager, into like wanting to see violence and tables and fire and all this crazy stuff. And so the independent wrestling scene was doing that. And I was just always wanted to gravitate towards that. And so that just continued and continued and continued until eventually I wanted to. What happened was, is like there was this, I say it's like the 5 pillars of Black Wrecellence. What happened, it was probably around 2014, 2013. Rich Swann, Shane Strickland, who is now Isaiah Swerve Scott, ACH, Willie Mack, and Cedric Alexander were 5 guys that were on the independent wrestling scene and they were just tearing it up. And so I was like, there hasn't been, back then, that's funny to think about now. It's like, there hasn't been like 5 really good Black wrestlers like at the same time that are just kind of doing this together. And so I wanted to spotlight them. That kind of was kicked off the whole thing is like, I have to spotlight these guys because there hasn't been a time when there's been this many Black wrestlers where I could just see them. And they're not just like, good, they're great, they're awesome, they're best, they're some of the best wrestlers I've ever seen. So like that spawned into more love of independent wrestling. That just kind of kicked off of me wanting to discover like people who aren't regularly seen every single day on Raw or SmackDown or Impact or ROH or whatever. Like we're the people that nobody knows of because there's a lot of incredible talent out there that no one's ever seen. And they're some of the best wrestlers in the world. And for some reasons, they aren't getting the same look. So the list came to make sure all these people get a look.
That's dope. Where'd you get the idea for like just putting the list together like your 500? And then backup question is this list actually ranked? Because I know that we've spoken, but just on record, like is that list ranked or is just like just a numbers to kind of give you the idea like these are how many wrestlers I could find with Black excellence?
Okay, so in 2019, I think it was, 2019, PWI put out the PWI 500. I hadn't looked at the PWI 500 in like maybe 10 years. But this year was something different. The internet is going, it's more like online based, things are changing. So the 2019 PWI comes out, I download the digital edition and I'm like, I'm already into this finding Black wrestlers thing already kind of like, I had a podcast. I was kind of in this. So I go through this list. I'm like, how many Black wrestlers are on this 500 thing? I think there's like 36, less than 40. There's 6% of the PWI are Black wrestlers. So I go to Twitter and I'm like, yo, is this crazy? Like, what do y'all think? Everybody's like, yeah, that's weird. Like, what's going on? I'm like, wow, well, like, damn, that's crazy. Like, PWI, what's up? So people just start being like, hey, you should maybe create a list. What about you do this? What about you? I'm like, what? I don't want to do that. That sounds crazy. That's so much work. But then after like 3 hours, I'm like, maybe I could do this. And so I just started thinking of how many wrestlers I knew. I thought of like, how many Black wrestlers do I know offhand? Just like if I were to guess, I came up with 100. And that's just like WWE, Impact, ROH, and just like random indie wrestlers that I followed throughout this time. And so I start putting together this list. I'm like, oh, that's cool. We could fill up 100. Like they couldn't even get to 100. I found 100 wrestlers. And I understand like if that's like, that all of them aren't the best or whatever. Like you can't put every single one of them. I get it. So I'm creating this list and I'm like, man, I'm finding more though. I get to 100. I'm like, oh, there's more. I'm like, so eventually I get to 250 and I'm like, look, we could fill up half of this list. We could fill up half of the PWI with just Black wrestlers. So that year I just put up the BW 250. Here it is, 250 wrestlers. They're all Black. What you want? What y'all talking about? And so like it started going good. It was great. People liked it and it started going up. And then the next year, a year again of research after that, because the first BW250 is my entire life of research. When people are like, well, when did you start? I've been researching every single day. That's something I like to reiterate. I don't just start creating this list. The list is coming out at the end of August, and here's August. Every single day that I'm on Twitter, this list is being researched. Every single time I watch a wrestling show, research. Watching AEW Dark, research. Anytime there's wrestling, it never stops. It's not just for this list, because it's not just for clout like most of these people are going for. This is for these wrestlers to get out there. It's not just like, here's this great list, let's all talk about it and have a good time. No, it's for like promoters to find. It's for the wrestlers to find. It's for these people to get shine. It's not about what these people, it's not about ranking. That's why I get so hung up on rankings, because who cares, man? You're asking about Kofi Kingston. You know who Kofi Kingston is. Who cares what number he's ranked? You know him. You've known him for 14 years, 15 years. Well, why is it blah, blah, blah number? Because you know who blah, blah, blah is. This list is for number 250 through 500. You don't know these people. You find them. You discover them. You watch their matches. This list is about them. There's a ranking. Yeah, I start out a ranking. There's probably the real ranking is really like 1 through 10. Those are the people. That's like, these are the real. After that, it's like, yo, here's 500 wrestlers, man. Enjoy it.
That's dope.
And that's a great point. But to play devil's advocate, we all in all aspects of life, we like to be acknowledged, again using this word, and like to compare ourselves to our colleagues and what have you. So I understand when you said 1 to 10 is more so the ranking, and then outside of that, it's just so here, boom, here. This is so you can know who. This is for us to know who these wrestlers are. But do you think as you continue to do the list every year, will you look more into like ranking? Just because, again, like I feel like people want to be acknowledged in regards to how well they're doing, how if they got better, or you know what I mean? Like, do you think that you follow more of a ranking system?
I think I would follow more of a ranking system if the wrestlers cared. The wrestlers don't care as much as the fans do. None of the wrestlers are like, I can't believe number. No, it's all the fans that are like, I can't believe this, blah, blah, blah. The wrestlers are just happy to be there. Most of them are just like, this is a great list. Yeah. And that's who it really is important about. When these people are doing their podcasts, talking their stuff because their favorite wrestler was ranked that, I don't care, man. Like, well, that doesn't matter. It's all about like these wrestlers being on here and being ranked. The ranking is just like, it's fun. You know, it's not like about like, that's like the last important part of this. It's like, what number were you? It's mostly about like, yo, there's so many tweets that I get. I remember getting a tweet from a black man. I've been watching wrestling for 30 years and I didn't know there was 500 wrestlers. I get that tweet so often, and that tweet is what this is about, man. Who knew there were 500 black wrestlers?
And I can raise my hand and tell you.
And now this year, there's probably 800 active black wrestlers. 800, and I only included 5. So, like, yo.
And
that's a lot of black wrestlers.
Definitely, and I agree with that. And that's why when all of that arguing and challenging of the list, at the end of the day, that's why I was very passionate about defending you on Twitter, is because it was like, but that's the point of that. You're losing the point of the list. The list is to show that we're out here. Like there's workers out here. There's wrestlers for you to follow. There's wrestlers for you to find. And even when you saw like some of the wrestlers, of course, you know, they played up to the numbers or whatever the case may be. Like, oh, last year I was this number. This year I'm doing better. But that's, you know, like Jenna said, that's just human nature, right? But at the end of the day, a lot of wrestlers supported this list. And I couldn't understand from anywhere why. If the people that are on the list have no problem with the list, who are you to say that there's something wrong with this list? I understand having conversations about opinions and things like that, but it's the way you approach it. Sometimes it becomes very disrespectful, and like it becomes like an attack more so as a discussion when you automatically look for the negative in the list before you celebrate the positives of a list. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of times, and that's what the issue creates, is that everybody wants to have their input. Everybody want to have their opinion, and they don't take the time to celebrate what's actually in front of them. And I feel like that was the problem that whole week. It was like,
the second it stops becoming about the wrestlers is when I'm out. And that's so often it's not about the wrestlers. Like, yo, I made this list for the wrestlers. Why are we talking about whatever we're over here talking about. Again, we're not talking about these wrestlers we need to focus on. So that's all
Right.
it is. That's why I be
I,
going crazy on
and
the internet about rankings. It's who cares about the rankings, you guys?
and it just goes back to what again Blue mentioned and what you mentioned just in general. It's just like I told you I didn't know that there was 500 black wrestlers, and you're saying there's 800 active black wrestlers. One,
Mm-hmm.
two. I literally had this conversation with him and then someone else saying, "Well, now I want to figure out what can I watch to see these said, wrestlers." And that's the point of
Exactly.
that. And then
Mm-hmm.
another issue is that we had this conversation with Phil. Shout out to Phil for our
Shout out
all
to the
out
homie Phil. Circle.
recap. Why is it that no, like we talk about the PWI
Mm-hmm.
500
500.
list, and there's what 6% of black wrestlers in that list. But now when we finally have our own someone that's in our community that's taking the time to put the spotlight on our own, we're attacking each other. And I think that's not even just in the wrestling community, just it seems like in our culture or community in general, we
Mm-hmm.
can't uplift each other. There's a lot of bickering
Right.
or because it's like we don't feel that we have enough people we don't have enough chairs at the table, so we got to fight for
Right.
that one spot, that theoretical one
Mm-hmm.
spot, and attack each other. And it didn't make sense to me in regards to seeing so many content creators, not even just random fans, but content creators attack and not like let's just have an
Right.
open conversation discussion in regards to what's
Mm-hmm.
being presented to us. And it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's frustrating because like we're all in the same fight. That's where I get to it. Like, yo, we're all fighting for the same thing. So how could we be fighting each other? It doesn't
Right.
make any sense, yo. We're just trying to get more shine for these wrestlers, right? So are you. So what's going on here? Why are we beefing with each other? I don't get it.
And that's why I put out that tweet and I said, if we build our own tables, there's room for everybody. Like, you
Right.
can't just sit here and act like, oh, because this table is here, like Jenna said, like, oh, there's only one seat. No, if we're building a table and then it's like 50 of us and then three more trying to sit down, guess what? Either we move over so they can sit down, or we build the table longer so it can fit more people.
Right.
Like, like
Hmm.
how hard is that concept that we can't figure out? Like, we're all smart and we're
Exactly.
all like mindful, so we can come up with that a thing. What I do want to bring up is that we like I know, like I don't know if it's like a public knowledge thing, but I do want to ask you. I know there's like a little rift between you and somebody else, some other people about lists. How did like how is there a way to fix that rift between you and the other group?
I don't. I don't know. I'm not doing anything with anybody, honestly. I'm working really hard to make more lists. I have to write for PWI. That's where it can
Right.
eventually. Making lists for PWI, making lists about PWI got me with PWI. So yeah, no, honestly, it's not. I'm not really down with any of that, man. It doesn't have to be any of this. It's really simple. Like we're all adult humans. Let's like get shine on these wrestlers and move on. So
That's what I mean. Like, is there a way for us to fix that rift on your end?
I
Because it
don't
always
have a
starts
rift
with
with
one side. It's
anybody. Yeah,
like
really.
like
I don't. There's
like
nothing for me. Like if we're gonna, I'm not fake beefing with anybody. I'm not really beefing with anybody. Like I'm just trying to get these like the stuff off, man. I don't. I honestly don't know what I block everybody. Like if negativity happens, I just block. So I don't even know. I don't know.
right.
I think a better question, not even and I'm just speaking in general terms, not because I don't have
Yeah.
any knowledge of any of that. But how can we fix and this is not just necessarily geared to you, just I guess for all of us here. What are ways that we can, I guess, bring our community together where it's not where it's like yes, it's competition. I get that. We're trying to get as much listeners or viewers or people to look at our articles, etc., etc. But what can we do as a community and come together and support each other instead of attacking one another? What do you have any suggestions or maybe ideas in regards to or what you would like to see possibly?
Um, yeah, I don't know if I have any suggestions. I don't know what anybody else should do, but I think what I've noticed recently on Twitter and online is everybody's just trying to dunk. Everybody's just looking for their
Yeah,
opportunity to get theirs in. No one's trying to really find any positive moments out of anybody. They're just trying to get their opportunity to dunk. And I think
right.
when we get out of that mind state is when we can really advance this, because if we're not going to sit down and really listen and talk to each other, we're just going to nitpick at clips or take create our own narratives. It's never going to change. So it's we just have to really real life communicate and not be about trying to dunk and not trying to get our stuff off and not trying to get our stuff over. It's not about that. It's like, let's all communicate like
Yeah,
real people. Let's talk, and let's not
yeah.
make videos about each other to try to troll, man. Come on, what are we doing here?
Right.
Try,
Right.
trying to get the
We're all
next
black
viral
content.
tweet.
Yes, we're all black content creators. We need to work together. Not just like y'all are saying, it's not just in wrestling. I'm in hip hop too. Same thing. Everybody's about these clicks.
Same
Everybody's
thing.
about trying to get their stuff up. It's the exact same thing. Like I got my stuff. I'm here and y'all can stay down here. And it's like we don't have to be like that. We can all be up there. But it's a
Yep.
mentality. So as
Definitely.
long if we get away from this mentality and we just start working towards being better at this, we can fix it. I don't think it's totally doomed. I think we can come together on this thing.
I don't think it's
Definitely.
doomed, but I think as society has made it seem like, since we're technically the minority and like you're less than, and we don't
Right.
really have room for you guys. So it's always been like
Mhm.
programmed into our mind from way back in the day that, well, if you want this,
Exactly.
you're gonna have to fight your brother or your sister to get to that spot. So no, I don't think we're
Like
doomed
I
like you said,
I
but
only see Jay-Z up there. Like who you never see any other brothers with Jay-Z. Like where's everybody else? Like that's what people be thinking. Like
exactly,
if I get there, it has to just be me. I gotta step on a bunch of heads, but it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
exactly,
like that.
right, for
Definitely not.
sure.
Uh, Another bright spot for the BW500. Big E did an interview with Complex with Cal. Shout out to Cal from Black Wrestling Podcast, and he shouted out the BW500. How did that
Yeah.
feel for you? I'm pretty sure you woke up that
That
morning like, wow.
Yeah, no, seriously, that's exactly my response. Just like, whoa, what? Big E's talking about my list, bro? That's crazy. I mean, just
Right.
for it's insane that he was the WWE champion and he saw it. That's crazy to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the WWE, like I was saying on Twitter, I got to interview Bobby Lashley, the last WWE champion, and now the next Black WWE champion is seeing the list
Is
and talking
mentioning,
about it and excited
yeah,
about it. It's like, yo, what is going on here, man? This is amazing. And if just like that can, if that it did got more eyes on the list. So, whoa, like what?
Definitely.
Big E, come on, man, that's crazy. That's amazing. And
Have you had a
well,
congrats
chance
to
to
Big E. I
speaking of
ever?
haven't got to
that,
say that on a podcast yet. Congrats to Big E for becoming the fourth Black WWE champion. Amazing. He's been great. He had the belt at the barber shop. Like, yo, come on,
Right.
man.
Right.
Man,
Mad culture.
man.
Mad culture.
I'm saying.
So you
so
ever had a chance
what do
to
you
interview him yet?
what's it? You
Go
keep
ahead.
cutting me off.
Hello. I was talking first. I said, have you had a chance to interview
I
Big E yet?
literally said something. I literally said something before you, but okay.
You
It's
had
just
a delay.
it's always something with you. Oh, did you magically put in this delay? Get out of here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Reg. I apologize.
You're
Go
good.
ahead.
So like I was saying,
You
Go
said, have
ahead.
I
Ask
got
the
to
have you
interview
had?
question.
Big E yet?
Yeah.
No, I'm
Sorry, we
working on. I'm
rudely
trying to get
interrupted.
him for the magazine. I'm like, yo, put in a little play for me to get Big E. So Big E, yo, 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 let's talk. Let's talk.
We're
Definitely.
gonna have we're gonna have to tag him in this. But what
Seriously.
are your thoughts in regards to what you just mentioned? Biggie's the fourth black WWE champion, right, in WWE history. And again, one of the some of the conversations that we've had recently is regards to the lack of inclusion, not necessarily
Hmm.
diversity in the
Right.
promotion, but inclusion. And we a lot of
Hmm.
things like we obviously see the hashtag Black Wrestlers Draw, and people are saying it pertains more to AEW, which it doesn't. It's just in
Right.
general.
Mm-mm.
But
Mm-hmm.
Right.
you see a company like WWE, who's notoriously has been, I don't, maybe blatantly racist over the years, but obviously we've seen the lack of inclusion when it comes to black wrestlers. But as of this year, we've seen Sasha, we've seen Bianca, we've seen Bobby, Big E, New
Right.
Day, the Hurt
Mm-hmm.
Business, Street
Swerve.
Profits. They've all Swerve, Apollo Crews, and Big E with the Intercontinental Championship earlier this year. So we've seen a lot of
Yep.
black wrestlers this past year with WWE. What are your
Mm-hmm.
thoughts on that? Do you think it is WWE moving in the right direction, or they're just doing it as like kind of like a marketing ploy thing? Because we've had our conversation in regards to the whole SummerSlam thing, and I felt that
Mm-hmm.
they really weren't feeling us in regards to the whole how impactful Sasha and Bianca was for them to take off the
Right.
title off Bianca instantly. But yeah, so what are your thoughts in regards to that? Just like, do you think they're moving in the right direction, or it's just like, hey niggas, we're this is what we're doing. Not, you know what I mean? The other company is not doing
Right.
that. What are your thoughts on that?
You know what? This year in WWE, I felt proud a lot of times. I'll honestly say that when Bobby Lashley won the WWE title, I was proud. Watching Sasha and Bianca main event WrestleMania, I can't even put into words how that moment felt. And
Right.
like for WWE to finally start something, I at this point, I don't care how we got here. I'm glad we're here. We
Yeah,
had two black
right,
WWE champions in the same year. It took 60 years to get crowned the first black WWE champion. Let's establish that. So we can't shoot WWE all the bill. Can't let them have everything. It took 63
Right.
to crown the first one, and then 21 years after that to crown the second one. So let's relax. But we did get two this year, and I felt very proud. I'm still upset they broke up the Hurt Business. I don't know what they're doing. Hopefully, they're getting back together. But yeah, I think
right.
WWE's has done so many amazing things that I'm just starting to be like, it's great. Thank you, guys. Like Hit Row did a cipher on NXT. Like
Right.
they're trying to play up
Mm-hmm.
to us. They had Trey Young in the on SmackDown. Like they're trying to give us
Right.
some things, and I think we
And
just need to
Wale
like
doing the same for NXT. Yeah,
exact. Well, I'm saying, yeah, like they're doing some things to acknowledge us and let us know that they are hearing us. It could get better. There could be more things, but I think they're going into the right direction. Big E's the WWE champion. They said he never would be, being a comedy guy, and he's here.
Right.
Same dude. He just wore the score cosplay. Like, yo, come on, man. Like,
Yo, that joke was dope.
they're
yeah,
For the
doing a
25th
lot. I
yeah.
think we
anniversary.
are very, yeah, that was sick. I think we are very lucky and we are very, very cool to be experiencing this time right now with WWE. I think they're doing a lot of things. They're doing a lot of bad things. The Bianca thing at SummerSlam sucked, and I
For
Facts.
turned
sure.
off SummerSlam after that. But
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
it's a process still. They've been a company. It's been 80 something years, and they're still learning, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Which is crazy. You can't make an excuse for that too. But I hear you.
Right?
It gets hard.
Yeah.
What do you think in regards to companies such as AEW or maybe Impact or
Hmm.
Ring of Honor, just other companies, promotions in general? What do you think has to be done, or what can we do on our part for them to acknowledge us and put us on like TV slots, not necessarily on YouTube? Do you think the hashtags work? Like
Yeah.
what do you think in regards to that?
Yeah, I think the thing that goes along with the Black Wrestling Draws Twitter handle, we just need to, or the hashtag, we just need to keep going out there and seeing these wrestlers because a lot of companies that you mentioned have already featured black wrestlers. Rich Swann was the
Yeah.
Impact World Champion at some point this year. Moose was the
Hmm.
TNA champion. Like they feature these
Hmm.
wrestlers.
Yep.
Jonathan Gresham was the Pure Wrestling champion for more than 200 days. Ring of Honor showing the Shane Taylor promotions are doing amazing things. Trish Adora has been
Facts.
featured in all these companies, and a company like AEW, they say a lot about in inclusion or diversity or whatever. But like, watch AEW Dark, watch AEW Dark Elevation, watch my friend Russell CM Punk on Friday. How are you going to talk about inclusion and diversity. The second match that this guy had in 7 years, one of the biggest wrestlers in the whole world, is wrestling my friend who was a black wrestler. So when people are talking about AEW, it's really hard for me to be like inclusion when my friend is there having the time of his life. They changed his life. I'm mentioning Powerhouse
Right.
Hobbs. I just want you guys to know. They changed his life. He's wrestling CM Punk. He's wrestling
Right.
CM
Yes.
Punk.
Yes.
I can't even
Talk that
my
talk.
my brain can't even process. I'm like,
I
what?
am
How? You
trying.
know what
I
I
am
mean?
trying to be there. I am trying to be there
Well,
tomorrow night.
and
Yeah.
on top of that,
I
wrestlers
wish I
like Lee
could.
Moriarty, Dante Martin, the Private Party. There's so many things going on. There's so many people doing so many things. We just have to keep doing these things. You have to keep doing these Twitter hashtags. You have to keep doing these spaces. We have to keep doing all these things to show not only just us. That was just something I was mentioning the other day. We can convince all the brass, all the higher ups in every company what we want. One thing we haven't done and one thing we haven't convinced is these fans. There's a whole bunch of
Hmm.
fans who aren't trying to hear what we're saying. They're not trying to hear about Black
Facts.
Wrestling Matters. They're not trying to hear about Black Wrestling Champions. They're not trying to hear about our favorite wrestlers. They don't care. And so we can
Hmm.
tell Tony Khan, Vince McMahon, Kerry from ROH, Scott at Impact. We tell everybody in the world that we want every black wrestlers. But if the fans don't care, nothing's going to ever happen. If the fans are showing zero support, if they're booing, if they're not supporting when these wrestlers are on TV, if they're turning them off, it's never going to work. So there's a whole line of other people who aren't necessarily so down for the ride that also needs
Hmm.
convincing that we haven't talked about. We never talk about that.
Hmm.
Like, oh, we need more black wrestlers on
Facts.
Yeah.
TV. But there's a whole bunch of people who don't want that.
Yeah.
Right.
And what do you do
Yeah.
about
And,
Yeah.
them?
That's
and
a great point.
that's
That's a
that's
great
that's a
point.
different aspect is that a lot of times we forget as content creators it's our jobs to seek out and find out about these different wrestlers, but the common
Right.
fan may not know about these common wrestlers. Like a lot of times when I have a lot of discussions, I'll bring up like a Darius Lockhart, and then everybody's like, "Cool," you know what I mean? Like, and it's like friends that like are watching wrestling for the longest. They watch, Impact, whatever the case may be, but they may not know who that person is.
Exactly.
So it's up
Right.
as content creators, and I always say this, and I told Jenna this before we talked with Phil. It's like as content creators, it is our jobs to bring those people to the casual fans, which is why like the BW500 is a great thing because the casual fan was like,
Right.
hey, what's this list that Big E was talking about? Let me find out who these black wrestlers are, if it matters to them,
Exactly.
or find some good matches and put in front of them like, yo, look what this dope matches happen. A lot of times, like
Right.
people complain about YouTube shows, but like YouTube has a lot of great views. Like right now, as we're recording this, there's 12,000 people watching Dark live, and then 300 more is gonna watch it after it goes off the air. That's a lot of numbers, and a lot of people that's like kids are into YouTube. They're not trying to watch live TV. I barely watch live TV. Everybody jumps to
Just
the
like
internet to watch
yeah,
everything.
just like I tweeted the other day, way, 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 way more people have YouTube than I have TNT. It's double, triple numbers. Anyone can log into YouTube right now. Hell of people don't have TNT. Most people I know don't have cable. So like,
Yeah,
you want them to be on Dynamite? Who you can't watch anyways. People are complaining about
right.
Dynamite that don't even have access to Dynamite. How are you going to support the people when they're there? So when they are on YouTube, which if you got a Wi-Fi connection,
It's free.
you can watch it right now as many times as you want. It doesn't happen one time like on my TV, then it's gone. You can watch a dark match 50 times, and the people in AEW are going to see that. They're going to be like, well, somebody watched this Lee Moriarty match 50 times. That much means something compared
Yeah,
to
Hmm.
old TV ratings where they get numbers, but we can show them right here with these numbers every single day. We don't have to wait till Tuesday.
yeah.
We don't have to wait till we don't have to wait till Wednesday. We don't have to wait till Friday. We can show them every single day on YouTube. But something about YouTube that there's a disconnect and people can't really get behind. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Well, listen,
People are like
I'll play
YouTube.
I'll play devil's advocate. And we've had this conversation, me and Blue and I, over the past few years, and just in the sense of, I get it. YouTube is readily accessible, whether it's on your phone, laptop, tablet, hell, even on your TV, right? But I'm
Yeah.
still one of those people that's very, it's crazy to say, But I'm old school in the sense of I still have cable. And is there something for me about just DVRing
Gotcha.
Raw, Dynamite, NXT, SmackDown, and then just catching it on TV? I don't know I don't know. It's just maybe because I'm stuck in my ways, right? So I think
Gotcha.
Right.
I agree. At the end of the day, it's a newer generation, and as years go on, that's just going to be the thing to stream. But there's still some people, old heads like me. I'm 31, but that that's gonna still just get the remote and watch
Those damn
TV that
old
way.
heads with their cable.
Won't cut the cord, won't
Got
they?
got
Cut that cord.
got goddamn youth and your tube you and Luhu and all this other stuff. Goddamn youth. Um,
That's
I,
funny.
What
I
is
I feel
4K?
like
What is that?
what is that? Um, but it's just a balance, and I think like again, it's just
Yeah, I
something
get it.
someone like me that has to come around to in regard. I think it's just if I want to be like if I want to watch on YouTube and see my favorite wrestlers and athletes, I have it there. If I cut on the TV and I want to see them there too, I think it's just I
Gotcha.
want to see them at the end of the day at wherever I
Everywhere.
I, I decide to view something.
I get that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
that
think
makes
that's what it's
sense. That
come
makes a
down
lot of sense. I
Yeah,
feel that.
but I
That's
definitely think
perfect.
that. But at the end of the day, like we say, is like you just got as content creators, you got to put some of these people in front of the people. Like the
to. Yeah.
stadium is what 40,000 people. That was at Dynamite or Raw, whatever case may be. Those people don't know the same people that we know, and it's up to us to find a way to
Right.
draw them in when they listen to the podcast or watch the podcast, and
Hmm.
give them that spotlight. And that's why that again we go back to the BW500. That's why it was such a great list because it gave you a cheat code, like a cheat sheet, for you to Google
Right.
Yes.
any name up
Exactly.
there,
Yes.
Hmm.
and it's gonna pop up
Yes.
somebody. And then your favorites are
Yep.
retweeting it, and your WWE champion is mentioning the list. It's gonna be like,
Unbelievable.
oh, what is this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's at the barbershop on his phone watching the Trish Adora match, and everybody's gonna be
Bruh,
like,
come
yo, what is
on.
that?
Right. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
at the end of the day, I feel like
So
that's what we need to have is that like that community to all support each other.
Yes, exactly.
my last question in regards to that. So again, going back to someone like me that I said when I saw this list, I was like, who's this? Who's that? And obviously, as you mentioned, there's a lot of these wrestlers are being showcased, obviously, whether it's WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, wherever. But what about those
Uh-huh.
said wrestlers that aren't actually featured on these promotions and it's just strictly indie wrestling?
Uh-huh.
How can someone like myself be able to catch that said wrestler that may not be
Uh,
getting that time on these promotions?
right. I think it's important that once again, YouTube has showcased.
Okay.
You can find
Ah,
most of the talent on most of the talent on the list is through YouTube. I find a lot of talent through that. But then there's like
okay.
services like IWTV and High Spots where these wrestlers it's a streaming service, so like it's connect it's a little bit of a greater reach for them if you watched it there. So if you're subscribed to
Got it.
IWTV or High Spots, you want to watch companies like Paradigm Pro Wrestling or like Ohio Wrestling Association. Black Wrestlers Matter has events on there. Fight Club Pro Wrestling. You want to just like find these companies and support them there because people are watching and they're seeing those numbers and they're judging off that. So and then beyond
Okay.
that, just like go through Twitter or any social media and find these wrestlers. Find the ones that you like. Find ones that you gravitate to, and just follow them because like that support, just following them, retweeting, maybe purchasing merch, just showing a little bit of
Hmm.
support like that is the best way really for these people to get out there. And the best way for you to find them is just like put a little bit of Google their name, and something's gonna come up for them. So just support. Yeah, just support.
Well, I'll definitely look into
Um,
that. I've never heard of IWTV or you mentioned High
Hmm.
Spot, so that's definitely I appreciate that for you
Yeah.
putting that out there.
I think my last thing I want to bring up, and this is what we kind of did with Phil as well, is like, I think me and
Uh-huh.
Jenny this last episode is like bringing up somebody that people should look out for. I don't know how much people watch Ring of Honor, but Shane Taylor Promotions are doing something very amazing in their run right now, and I feel like
Oh
it's not
wow,
highlighted
yeah,
enough. Like
it's not.
those guys are between that and whatever Shane been doing with this one gotta go thing. Apparently that's got to stop because that's been messing up our community a bit. But just
Yeah, he
just
is
those
just
guys, those
dividing
five
the
guys is
whole
just like
culture.
right with the one gotta go. But like if they add Trish Adora to that, and I feel like that's the move they're looking at. Those guys in that
Right.
collective right now are doing something so amazing in wrestling. I just wanted to bring it up, and I want to see what you thought about it. Like, I feel like people should pay attention to what they're doing. Like, follow their Twitter, Instagram, whatever, YouTube them, because they're doing something very, very, like, unique in the industry for us. And I feel like it should get some more of attention. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I kind of feel like exactly what you're saying. What they're doing, kind of like some of the stuff we're fighting for, talking about on Twitter and social media. They're bringing that to Ring of Honor. They're bringing the things we're saying online about Black wrestlers and representation. You can see them saying this on Ring of Honor TV or their Ring of Honor
Right.
on the website. Like they're bringing these things to the forefront, and they're saying things that wrestlers shouldn't say sometimes, or that going places they shouldn't be, because like
Facts.
it's real. You know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah.
like, if we don't do it, who's gonna do it? And Shane Taylor, Con and Moses, O'Shea, and possibly Trish is like insane. And
Yeah.
they're just like,
Yeah.
they're doing it. It's not watered down. It's real. They're just speaking like we speak. They're representing us. It feels like we have a group out on TV, a major wrestling promotion, and they're doing it.
Yeah.
And it's great. I think everybody needs to check out what they're doing, not only online, but on Ring of Honor TV whenever you can. And it's great. They're amazing. Shane Taylor is crazy.
Definitely.
He's improved
Yo.
tremendously in so many years.
Yes. Yes. And I think about that a lot when I look at Shane Taylor Promotions. It's like, who thought Shane Taylor would grow into this 5 years ago? You know what I mean? Like when I
Right,
first started,
exactly.
me personally, I started watching Ring of Honor around like 5 years ago, 4 years ago or so. And when I
When
see
he was
Shane
with
Taylor
Keith Lee and stuff.
right, and like and moving
Yeah.
to her now, it's just like I didn't see this, and it's amazing to see, like just to see the
Me neither,
relevance
yeah.
in him, and bringing these people
Yeah.
together, and even bringing other wrestlers together in a way. It's just amazing.
Right.
Man. I just wanted to like bring that to the forefront.
Yeah, hell yeah, it's dope. It's amazing. They are great. Maybe, I think the next Black World Champion is in Ring of Honor is between Shane Taylor and Jonathan Gresham. It's like, which one of these guys
Yeah,
is gonna
Yeah.
really break out and be the one? So like, we just gotta be along for the ride,
definitely.
For sure.
So,
for
is
sure.
there anything else you're working on right now? Anything you want to shout out as we coming down to a close?
Just check out the BW500. I'm working on some new stuff for PWI. The PWI 500 came out about a week or two ago. I was a part of creating that list, the names, whatever. I wrote a couple of the bios for the list. So get the PWI 500 when it comes out. There's some stuff coming out. I have like some really cool stuff being announced this weekend or next weekend. So like, something dope is coming.
Tell them where to follow you.
Follow me at Righteous Reg on Twitter, Instagram, righteousreg.bandcamp.com if you want to hear me rap. I got a new rap project coming out. So I appreciate y'all,
Nice.
man. This has been dope. Thank you for letting me
Yeah,
come
this man
out
does
and
everything. He writes,
say
he
my
raps.
piece.
Wrestlers.
No wonder it took about 4 or 5 months to get you on here. Scheduling.
We've been trying. This is a while.
It
was
was.
like, yeah, damn, this man is big time.
No, for
But
real.
nah,
Every
you
time
know,
I be
the-
like, I don't have nothing to do, and then like I have 10 things to do. I'm like, yo, what y'all want to talk to me some more on a podcast? I appreciate it. All right, let's do it.
I mean, well, Universe will have it because of the wait, we got the chance to hear Big E big you up in Complex magazine, so it was worth the wait.
It was.
Thank you for having
Straight up.
As usual, you can follow me at Blue Magic Grind, spell how to sound, or you can follow Jenna at. Oh, I did it wrong. Damn it.
Jenna Big.
Wrong way.
Okay. And Miss Jenna Baby BAYBEE. Reg, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for what you're doing for our community, because not a lot of people would even take the time to do that, let alone create
For real.
such a huge list like that. And what you're doing is phenomenal. So thank you
I'm
for
sorry.
that.
Last
Thank
question. How long
you.
did it take you to write that? How long did it take you to put that list
Sir,
together?
sir,
the last
that's
one. I'm
it.
sorry.
That's it. You had your chance.
The
This
one
last
this year?
question. Yeah, this last one. Last one. How long is it?
The 500. I started on August 1st to like. That's when I put like down number one and number two, and then just like for the entire month, I just was like putting it together. But like I said, the whole year I'm working on it in my brain.
He's researching.
Like
Right,
I'm
right.
working
Putting the
on
list together.
I'm working on who's gonna be number one like in my brain for a long time. And then Trish Adora had like an Iron Man match, and she defended the title for a whole year, and she had all these opportunities. And I was like, she has to be the one. So, but really, like pen to paper, as they say, is a month worth of like me putting names down, me rearranging names, me finding whoever's like the last of like who needing to be found. It's like a month's worth of like intense work.
That's
All right,
impressive
thank you.
for it to be just a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we're not gonna hold you up no more. Go ahead. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you subscribe, all that good stuff. Make sure you follow Righteous Reg, and we're out. Peace.
Righteous Reg.
Peace.
Righteous Reg.
Righteous Reg.
Peace.
Righteous Reg.
Righteous Reg.
Tag show.